legendary Pinzgauer, the all-terrain vehicle. The Austrian off-road vehicle Pinzgauer is a not much known car in Russia, but at the same time, between the fans of real off-road conquerors and not city jeeps, it is a legend. The first production copies of the Pinzgauer 710 appeared in 1971 on May 17th. It was a two-axle off-road vehicle of a rather simple design, created under the leadership of the talented car designer Erich Ledwinki, the son of the legendary Czech automobile engineer Hans Ledwinki, who worked on the creation of Tatra cars, popular in Europe in the first half of the 20th century. Initially, the car was developed by the Swiss military order. The all-terrain vehicle is based on the Tatra backbone frame tube, independent suspension of all wheels, swinging axle shafts, is also a time-tested solution of the Czech engineering genius. The Tatra technical concept was complemented with a 2.5-liter gasoline engine with a capacity of 90 liters air cooling. The engine easily worked with cheap 76 gasoline and at the same time had a huge resource. A year later, in 1972, a three-axle Pinzgauer 712 appears with a 6-to-6 wheel arrangement. In the same year, the first all-terrain vehicles of ordinary, non-military purpose appeared, differing only in color. Different types of body were offered, from closed all-metal carriage type to different types of tilt options. We should also say about the transmission. The box and the transfer are separate here. The manual transmission had 5 speeds. The transfer with synchronizers, it was possible to turn on the lowered row right on the go, but there is no center differential. The idea was that on a good road, the front axle will be off. Differentials in axle gearboxes are locked, and they can be locked even on the move. The blocking control is hydraulic. Wheel reducers, of course, are available. How to describe the all-terrain qualities of the Pinz? Shortly, it has no limit of cross-country ability on land. Due to the specifics of its design, it easily passes where the off-road vehicles pumped for trophy raids travel with caution. But at the same time, the car should be treated with care. Better not to jump into serious obstacles right away, so as not to break the anthers of the axle shafts and not to damage the hydraulics. The ground clearance is 400 mm, while the wheel travel with independent suspension is up to 200 mm. It can ride through the water obstacles up to 700 mm deep. When fully loaded, it overcomes a 40-degree rise and descends on slopes with a steepness of up to 45 degrees. There was even a legend that a propeller could be attached to the pins and it could float like an amphibian. But this is not true. It's just that the bridges were of a modular design. They were joined by flanges on the crankcases and pipe frame. Everything in the cabin is very simple without frills. We would say ascetic and Spartan. The usual heater appeared only in the diesel version. In the gasoline version, let us remind you, there was air cooling, and the warm air for the heater was taken, guess from where? From the engine muffler, which passed through a kind of heat exchanger. The Pinzgauer 710 and 712 were produced practically unchanged until the mid-1980s, after which they passed modernization of the power unit and transmission. A 2.4-liter turbocharged diesel engine with 104 horsepower was introduced. It had liquid cooling. Due to the size of the motor, the front of the car became a little different. The transmission has a 4-speed automatic transmission from ZF. Pinz has 2 serious drawbacks. The first is to repair the transmission to replace the components that are in the tube frame In fact, you have to completely disassemble the entire car. And the second is drum brakes on all wheels, which disappeared after the mud baths and required cleaning, for which the drums had to be removed. Also, it easily lies on its side. The center of gravity is high and the track is narrow, but just as easily gets back on the wheels with the help of a second car and keeps moving. Production in Austria ended in 1990, but until 2009 they were still assembled in Britain. They are rare, but in almost every corner around the world. There are some also in Russia, bought by fans, those who like to conquer serious obstacles, or simply wealthy extreme travelers. The cost of the Pinzgauer, despite the high mileage and age, is far from affordable for all fans of all-wheel drive. Probably this is how Bukhanka from the Oise would look like if it had been designed by Ledwinki. Don't forget to subscribe and like it. Thanks for sharing and bye bye.